It's yours truly, Coach Mike Dubb, and I'm here with another review of these NFL teams as we get a little bit closer to training camp. We're getting closer and closer. As you see, July is rolling through here like it has somewhere to be. We're almost in August, which means we are almost at the start of the season, which I know a lot of us have been waiting on and can't wait. So we're going to continue breaking down all these different teams. This week, we're breaking down our NFC South, and I have the pleasure of talking about none other than the Atlanta Falcons. Listen, let me start out by saying this one thing. I am extremely high on the Atlanta Falcons. So before I even get into the details and get into, the off season and the future outlook of this Falcon team, I'm gonna go on record as saying I love this Falcons team so far, or at least the direction that they're headed. We're going to get into all the different things that they did in the offseason and pretty much give you guys a prediction on what you can expect for them this upcoming 2025 season. But I'm going to just start out by saying I'm very high on this Falcon team. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who's your favorite to win the NFC South? But without further ado, we're just going to jump right on into it. So, first and foremost, as always, we're going to start out thinking about, what direction that they want to head into after last year. So, last year, obviously, a coaching change. Raheem Morris came in, first year head coach. Raheem Morris has a great reputation as a player's coach. He's a guy that a lot of guys wanted to play under, and I think they did well under. They performed pretty solid. They had a rough stretch throughout the middle of the season. Of course, they signed or they drafted, I should say, Michael Penix, who was really highly touted out of college. So they wanted to come in, and he was their guy of the future. But they also went out in the in the free agency last year and signed Kirk Cousins. So we knew it was a project that they were working on last year. They had a solid roster. They've always had a talented roster. So there were a lot of questions coming into last year, but they ended up performing solid. They weren't a playoff team, but for a first year head coach, I think they won like eight or nine games. I think maybe 8 games last year, which is a solid showing. So I think that they went into the offseason knowing that they built off of a foundation that they had. They had their quarterback for the future, and Michael Penix. He's going to be able to take over a full year. He has a full offseason with number one reps now. And he's no question going to be the guy heading into the season. And I love that direction for them. So clearly, a lot of their attention was spent on the defensive side of the ball. We've been talking about their need for edge rushers for it seems like quite some time now. They just really haven't had a presence as far as getting to the quarterback and in that front seven. We've seen them draft some guys. It hasn't panned out. They've seen them try to pick up some guys in free agency. So they still wanted to fill that gap. As you can see, Leonard Floyd is a guy that they brought in. They're looking to solidify that role as a vet. Um, Morgan Fox, another guy up front that they look to add. So you can clearly see that their defense was a priority over the offseason, especially in their front seven. And of course, that comes with rushing the passer, stopping the run, all kinds of things. They did lose a long time vet in Grady Jarrett. He's aging, getting up there. So it was about time for them to switch it up a little bit. But even in the defensive backfield, we're seeing them adding depth. I love the Jordan Fuller signing. Mike Ford also decent, adding some depth. So listen, they really went heavy on their defensive side of the ball, which is exactly what they need. Raheem Morris, of course, having a eye for that, and really they're trying to solidify that so that they could take that next step in the NFC South. But clearly, as you can see, a lot of the attention and a lot of the focus priority was on getting pressure. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to see when we move forward to the draft how they doubled down on that and really went hard on getting guys that could rush the passer, setting that edge, and add some depth to that defense. So pretty solid. I think free agency offensively. I think they have everything that they needed to have. Their bread and butter is going to be in that run game. We're going to talk about Bijan a little bit. I love what he brings to this team and to the league. In my opinion, I think he may be one of, if not top three backs, if not one of the best backs, probably top three, definitely top five backs heading into the season. He's going to have a guy. He had a breakout year last year. I think they're going to feed him even more. He's going to have a great year as well. So they're going to lean heavy on that offensive side of the ball, run game, and even pass catchers. They got some dogs. Still waiting to see if Pitts is who they say he is. Um, he's a guy that everybody's been waiting to see him jump off the porch and really do his thing. I'm not sure if we're ever going to see it, but needless to say, they have some talent on the offensive side of the ball. So clearly, they have what they need over there. They're just looking to solidify things on the defensive side. And I said that before. They doubled down on it in the draft. I mean, all their first four picks, and every one of these four picks was a great pick in the first four picks was a great pick in my opinion. Jalen Walker, linebacker, versatile, another edge, James Pierce, who was very highly touted. Some people had questions about his character, so he was able to slip to the second half of the first round. I think that's a steal for Atlanta, absolutely a steal for them. So I love the pick of Jalen Walker and James Pierce, and then to tie it up, Xavier Watts, another pick that I loved. I had an eye on him for my team when we were doing the scouting and we were looking at him. So I think that that's another steal for them. And then late in the third round to get him, or in the third round, I should say, Xavier Watts. I think that's another steal, somebody that could tie up that secondary. I believe they did lose a player in the secondary this year. I can't remember his name, but he came over from the Broncos and played for them. Justin Simmons, I believe, played for them last year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they're going to replace him with some other guys. One of the guys that they're looking at in the draft, Xavier Watts. He's somebody that you may be able to keep an eye on. I think that he may be, a guy that could come out and surprise a lot of people and not only add to depth, but possibly push for that starting role at the safety position. So I really loved what they did on defense. Like I said, doubling down on those edge rushers, getting pressure on the passing game, which was, they weren't missing a lot. This was a good team. If you watch the Falcons play, you realize that they were very close to being a playoff team. They had some close losses. I think their last two games this season, they lost in overtime, Washington, Carolina, some tough games that they played down the stretch. And of course, they had a rookie quarterback. They made the switch mid-season with Penix. So there's always going to be some growing pains, but I like the direction that they're headed. So I don't think that they had much to do over the offseason, but I like the direction that they headed with this draft class coupled with their free agency. That being said, we looked at it like as I mentioned before, they were headed in the right direction. An 8-win team, and under your first year as a head coach, that's solid. With a rookie quarterback, your quarterback of the future, a nice young core in the offense. Like I said, one of the best backs in the league, a solid offensive line, also a great secondary. People sleep on Jesse Bates, who's one of the best safeties in the game right now. Terrell, who's another solid corner in the game. I think they added Mike Hughes, if I'm not mistaken, or they got Mike Hughes not too long ago, a year or two ago. So they got some depth. They got some opportunities to make some things happen, especially in that secondary. They didn't have too many gaps to fill, I think, to get over that hump. I think they did just enough, especially their draft. I love their draft, and I think that might take them over the top to being one of the best teams, I believe, in the NFC South, definitely for sure. So no significant coaching changes. Raheem Morris, I think, is a great fit there. Like I said, he's a player's coach. The guys look like they played for him well. I think in his second year, he's going to even go even further and really take this team to the next level. So finally, we take a look at their schedule. Of course, in the NFC South, it's always going to be a battle. They open up with the Bucks. That's going to be a tough one. You see some tough games on there. The Bills, the Rams, really, some teams that could surprise them. Of course, the Commanders, again, they went into overtime. That's going to be a good one. Overall, they don't have too many super, high level threats, I would say. Obviously, teams like, the Patriots, teams like the Saints in their division is always hard, but the Bills I mentioned is a tough one. 49ers, you don't know what you're going to get from them. So it's kind of one of those schedules where you don't know. It's a lot of wild cards on here as far as teams that you're not sure how they're going to come out. They could be really good or they could be really bad. And matchup wise, you never know how they're going to end up with Atlanta. So overall, I do like the schedule as far as the Falcons are concerned. I think it is in their favor. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that this is going to be one of the better teams, one of the surprises of the NFL this year. Every year, there's a team that comes out of nowhere. I think this is a team that's going to sneak up on a lot of people because they weren't on a lot of people's radar last year. But I like the direction that they're going. I think the schedule plays in their favor. I have them winning the NFC South. I also have them being an 11, maybe even a 12-win team. Like I said, it's going to be one of those teams that surprises you after Thanksgiving, going into Christmas. You're going to be like, I didn't realize that, the Falcons had only lost 4 or 5 games at that point or something like that. So I think that that's a team that very well could do that. My prediction, like I said, NFC South champions, also perhaps 11, maybe even 12-win team. very high on the Falcons. Like I said, because of their roster makeup, because of their identity, I think Bijan is going to have an amazing year. He's going to be one of those guys that possibly will be in the talk for Offensive Player of the Year. Anything like that. I think this is his breakout year. Penix, I think he's going to play well. I love their receivers. Not so sure about Pitts yet, but I think they might be able to make it work with him. So overall, offseason grade, I give them a B plus. I love what they did in the draft. Free agency, it was okay, but I really like their draft. That took them over the top for me. And like I said, prediction wise, NFC South chance 12 to 11 wins. Not sure how deep they'll go in the playoffs because they still are inexperienced when it comes to that. So they might be one of those teams like we saw, Detroit last year, who made a lot of noise, had a home game, and then they just, couldn't get over the hump. This may be a team like that. I can see that Atlanta Falcons making a lot of noise in a regular season. It's kind of early to say how they'll look in the playoffs, but I think their schedule really plays in their benefit, and sometimes that could be to a team's detriment when they get to the playoffs. So I don't want to put the cart above the horse, or put the horse before the cart, however you want to say that, cart before the horse. Either way, I don't want to jump too far down the line when it comes to this team. I'm not saying that they're a Super Bowl contender. Not even saying that they may even be an NFC championship contender. However, I do think they're a playoff team, and I think that they're possibly the best team in their division. So be on the lookout for them. Let me know, Atlanta fans, anybody from Atlanta, anybody that loves the Falcons or just loves football. If you've been following this team, do you agree? Do you think they're headed in the right direction? Hit us up on our socials. Tune in to all the other recaps. You'll get a chance to hear from the rest of the guys about the NFC South this week, and we'll keep this thing rolling as we get closer to camp. So without further ado, yours truly.